Welcome to the Ultimate Mixtape, an interactive podcast on a mission to create an epic playlist. With submissions from your host, creative guests, and superfans along the way. What songs will make the cut? This podcast is about music, friends, and memories. Share your favorite stories on www.theultimatemixtape.com to join in the podcast fun. Here's your host, Jess Manzilla.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jess Manzilla, and I am with my partner in crime and life, Jimmy McFadden. Welcome to our new podcast, The Ultimate Mixtape. Jimmy, how does it feel to be a podcaster now?
It actually feels great. I'm actually excited to be on this journey with you. Music is like our life. We go to concerts and we do all of that. So this is like an excellent way to learn about new music. We can meet some new people doing this, and we can reminisce over our favorite shows and some songs that we love.
Yeah, I mean, we're both pretty huge music fans, especially live music. That's how we met. And we're constantly traveling, going to shows. So no matter what, this is a great way to channel everything that we accumulate through the year. And, you know, we both have our regular 9-to-5 jobs. So why not have a little podcast on top of that where we can share and interact with people, tell stories. And that's like my favorite part of a show is getting to know new people. So if you want to interact with us, please head to our website, theultimatemixtape.com. And you can submit your stories. And if you're a super fan of a band, please let us know. We want to talk to you.
Absolutely. Like Jess said, we definitely want to hear all the stories that you have. To me, it's like every show is unique. There could be 2,000 people in a venue and it's 2,000 different outcomes of stories. So definitely please share your experiences with us. So I think we should get into this. Let's talk about why we're even doing this podcast.
So, I mean, let's just be honest here. I was part of another podcast and that didn't really work out. But I did learn a lot and I gained a lot. And it was 9 months of me learning about podcasts and it was almost like my baby. So I couldn't let it go. I really wanted to take what I learned and turn that into something new and make it really positive and fun. So that's what I'm doing now. Let's start our own podcast and let's see where it goes. So we're making this podcast and you were actually along for the ride at the beginning when I was starting everything last year, Jimmy. You kind of got roped into this new idea. So what do you actually hope will come from this podcast?
No, it's actually been fun to be part of it from the beginning because I've learned so much from you and like what you've done and what you are doing now. So for this podcast in particular, I just want it to be like an open forum, open platform for people to like share stories of shows. How did they even get into music in the first place? And then the biggest thing I want to get is what does their ultimate mixtape consist of? And so since me and you we're going to talk about an ultimate mixtape now, what song do you think we should add to our very first mixtape?
So it only is fitting to kind of go with the inspiration behind the name of the podcast and the website and go with our favorite musician, the reason why we're even together, Andrew McMahon. And he has a song called The Mixtape by Jack's Mannequin, aka Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness, aka Andrew McMahon, aka something corporate. There's many monikers he's gone through over the years, but this particular song by Jack's Mannequin is very special. And you actually have a tattoo inspired by this song. So why is this song special to you, Jimmy?
I do. I actually do have a tattoo. For those of you who are watching the actual podcast on video, I'm going to show it to you now. Hopefully you can see that. It is a picture of a mixtape. The outline color is obviously dark blue, obvious reasons. Then the inside of the part of the cassette tape is actually the blue from the sky on the Transit album cover. It also has two of the palm trees and the airplane with the banner. For those of you not watching, I'll just post a picture on our Instagram just so you can check it out. But to me, this song is like, you hear it, it puts you at a show. Whether it's the Transit anniversary tour or whether it's just an everyday show that he plays it at. I just think of it and I think of friends, I think of dancing. That's just it. But when I think of like an actual like mixtape, I think of like putting my favorite songs together, wanting to do a road trip, or it could be like current songs, or it could be even like songs from 10 years ago. But to me, I think we make mixtapes for all different reasons. It could be that we're sad. It could be that we want to beat somebody's ass. It could be literally anything, road trips. Um, but I'll give you my favorite mixtape, and obviously you're a part of it. But my favorite mixtape was actually our wedding. I still actually listen to it to this day, and we're almost 5 years married now. But it had Journey, Jukebox the Ghost, Britney Spears, TLC, 21 Pilots, and then that guy you mentioned earlier who plays that long ass song Constantine. He was on it as well.
It had a
But I
little bit of
also,
everything. We were told it was a pretty epic emo night.
right, it was like a emo night slash wedding, and all of our guests really enjoyed it. So that was great. But I think another part of mixtape that's interesting is at the end of the year when you either have Apple Music or a Spotify wrap up to see what other friends are listening to. A majority of our friends love Andrew, so that's an obvious. You're going to see Andrew on their top five or whatever. But like, what else do they listen to? Death metal. Some people like the Backstreet Boys. Like, who else are they listening to? So I do enjoy that a lot. But like I said earlier, we obviously love everything in transit. The song Mixtape is super special, to me specifically. But how about to you? Like, what do you think of when you hear Mixtape?
So this song by Jack's Mannequin is special to me because it's basically a love letter to my 20s, really. It reminds me of so many memories, going to shows, long road trips in the summer with no air in my car and sweating to death, screaming the songs at the top of my lungs, coming home with bruises from the pits and
Right.
dancing with my friends, waiting outside for like 8 hours just to get in, meeting the bands. Like it literally reminds me of all of those things in one. And that song, it just always brings me back. And there's really something I think that's vulnerable about sharing a mixtape or CD, like playlist, I guess, nowadays because nobody makes CDs anymore. Um, you choose the songs and they're current to you and what you're feeling at every given moment, but there's something universal when somebody else relates to it. So that makes it a little bit different.
Yeah.
And we choose the songs based on our emotions and like how we're feeling at that time. So
Mhm.
I have a playlist that's like, here's my playlist of my sad songs. Here's the songs that get me hyped. Like I have a little bit of a mixtape for everything. So
Mhm.
I love the idea of being able to see like what are other people listening to? How are they relating to it? How are you a fan of this? What got you into it in the first place? And I think at the time that this album came out, Everything in Transit, I feel like there were so many people that were learning about themselves, including me. I had just graduated high school and I was like getting into the real world. And socially, I wasn't that great relating to people, but I could
Mhm.
always talk about music and
Right.
I could do that all day. So I found myself making friends with people in line at shows, and they're some of the most stellar people in the world.
They
And
are.
since we both love Andrew McMahon and we're kind of like in this Andrew McMahon fandom, I figured out like why not reach out to the people that are super fans and what the songs mean to them, you know?
Absolutely. This part to me was a lot of fun because like we have our own stories, but I like to hear stories from people I know and people I don't know. I do have one here. It's actually from Courtney Nelson Design on Instagram, and I'm just going to read this to you. She said, I found Jack's Mannequin fittingly when I was in high school. Throughout the years of exploration, unsureness, and finding my footing, Andrew's lyrics and melodies became the background music to my own personal growth. My first exposure to Jack's Mannequin was stumbling upon Dark Blue on YouTube when I was 16. I remember it vividly. All the other videos I watched are just blurred in comparison. After that 4 minute video, I needed more. The recommended next was the mixtape. I was hooked. I think the best part of the mixtape is Never Dull. It's my favorite song ever. Since that fateful day, it's been my wake up alarm every morning. I still wake up to the opening sounds with a smile on my face. It's truly the epitome of pop rock. I'm so grateful for Andrew, and pictured as a lyric art from a series of Andrew songs I did while in graphic school. Courtney, I just want to say thank you so much. We all relate to how you found Andrew, and then of course the mixtape. So we do appreciate you sending us the photo, the design. It's definitely a clear inspiration of what the
I can
mixtape.
share this photo.
Yeah,
If
that'd
you
be great.
see it and you're not watching, you can definitely go on the website. I'll put it on there, or we'll share it on Instagram.
Okay, that would be great.
Here we go. That's what she shared with us. It's pretty cool.
It is. It is. And I like how the tape comes out of it. So thank you, Courtney, again for sharing that with us.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that story. I can relate to that too. If you didn't fall in love with Dark Blue as a music video, are you even a fan of Andrew McMahon?
No.
It's such a beautiful music video. What they're like dancing on the beach, doing like one of those dance marathon things.
Yeah. If you're not a fan, you should just be alone in a crowded room.
So thanks for sharing that with us. We'll post that design, and thank you, Courtney. We'll tag you in that. But I also have a story here from, let's see, Donnie Darko Daydreams on Instagram.
What a name.
They said, I was a junior in high school. I hated those 4 years for various reasons, including getting bullied, not having any confidence, and feeling very much invalidated for all the things that I loved. So that's relatable.
Very.
One of those things I loved was music, particularly the music of something corporate. For fans of Andrew McMahon, we know that 2005 was a tumultuous year for him, and he was diagnosed and battled leukemia. It was also a year that his band Jack's Mannequin put out their first record, Everything in Transit, with its first single being the mixtape. The mixtape held my hand as I walked through high school hallways alone and with my head down. The mixtape was my dear friend when my real friends were being mean to me. The mixtape provided a welcomed escape to the confines of my life back then and provided hope and happiness. From its strong guitar riff opening to the powerful lyrics, this mix could sink the sun. It symbolized that it was not only Andrew was going to be okay, but I was too. So
nice. It's funny how those two stories like relate to high school and like what people were going through, and it gave them like a feeling of like why to live. So that's really cool.
Something that I didn't think about is that opening guitar riff, because the second you hear it, it's so recognizable.
Right.
Like, if you haven't heard it in a while, you get the chills.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. Yeah. And even like you hear the first note, it's like, to me, it always puts me at a show. It's just always like such a good, you're going to have a great like next 3.5 minutes because the song is so good. But I'm going to go ahead. We do have a third story for Corey's version on Instagram. I'm just going to go ahead and read this to you guys. The mixtape has always been a very important song for almost every Jack's Mannequin fan that's been around since the beginning. And for me, it's no exception. Mixtape has always been a favorite of mine, no matter how many times I've heard it played, whether that's live or blasting my car stereo. My connection to the song took another meaning around summer of 2010. I made a mix CD for this girl I really liked that I've been talking to since late 2009, where we were working in a college admissions office. I went up to visit her over the summer, and I knew that I was going to give her a mix on CD that basically laid out how I felt about her. And of course, the mixtape had to be the opening song. Smart move. I went to visit her that day, and we got lunch. We walked around on campus and just had a great time together. As we were saying goodbye, I said to her, "Hey, I've got something for you. I made you a CD of all my favorite songs." We parted ways to our own cars, and I heard her say, "Oh no," really loud. Getting into her car, the CD had hit the door frame and the CD shattered. That's really shitty. That's really crappy. I probably wouldn't make her another one, but anyway, he says, "I'm pretty sure my heart shattered along with it. I could see she was so upset. So I just did my best to keep a smile on and reassure her that it was okay." As soon as I got home, I sent her another copy of the CD in the mail with a disclaimer that said, "Please don't break me."
I think we all need that, right? Like, should we all have a shirt that says, please don't break me?
Exactly, exactly. Um, Little did I know, or maybe I did, somehow I ended up marrying this girl. Over the years, I would make mixed CDs for important things in our relationship, like first big trips, Valentine's Day, anniversaries, and even when I proposed. And
Oh,
every single time, the mixtape always had to be the start. It even went as far as our wedding. Our gift for our guests was our wedding soundtrack, a CD of songs that were played throughout the day and some of our favorite songs that meant a lot to us throughout our relationship. And of course, the very first song in the CD that went home to 200 guests was the mixtape. I looked on my computer yesterday and I saw I had 16 versions of the mixtape saved on my computer. That's
that
a
is
bit much. That's a
all.
bit 16. That's a bit much, bro. Each one different, whether it's an acoustic version of live performance or another studio version. And while it is a bit embarrassing, 16 is a lot. It honestly just made me think I should get started on another mixtape for my wife. So
Oh,
thank you, Corey's version. I would probably limit to like 4 versions of the mixtape on your computer, but thank you again for sharing that story. And I'm glad you guys are happily married now. So
hey, why not make a mixtape for us? I
true,
know how it'll start.
true.
Thanks for sharing that story. And I do have one last thing. This is from Morgan S. on Facebook, and they wrote, the mixtape was the first Andrew song I ever heard. There's a piece of me in every single second of every single day. I'll
Yep.
never, ever forget how my 12-year-old brain felt the first time I heard that. I feel like it feels like coming home every time I hear it. And I think that kind of sums up what this song is, right?
It
It
does.
feels like you're coming home when you hear this song. You feel the warm and fuzzy inside, and it brings that sense with it. And I want to do that for this podcast. I want to make this podcast feel like you're coming home and you can relate to other people and share your stories. And we, as Andrew fans, know that he has a new album dropping midnight on March 31st called Tilt at the Wind No More. And you can listen to a good amount of the songs on Spotify now, and there's some really good ones. Some of my favorites are Stars and Line on the Hood of a Car.
Yep.
The first couple songs, since they are available, you can start learning all the words.
Right. Right. Because he
And
does have 2 shows coming up at the end of the
he
week.
does. He with the album coming out, there's a tour coming, so
Yep.
definitely we'll be at a couple of the shows. Make sure if you're in Florida, come say hi to us.
Yes.
Um, but it's our duty as Andrew fans to promote this a little bit. So we just gotta say, check out his music when it drops at midnight. And his music does transcend time. So I think the mixtape is always going to hold the special place in people's hearts.
I agree. I agree. And for the new album, it's like we love all of his stuff. But this album, just like it could be some of his best work because the songs that we've heard so far are just they're stellar.
So good.
So yeah. So definitely listen to the new album. I'm just gonna go ahead and close us out. Thank you guys really for listening. Definitely like, share, subscribe everywhere you get your podcast. Our next one, we're actually going to be reviewing the new Fall Out Boy album that just came out, I think last Friday. So we just want to know what you think of the album. Send us your thoughts to our website, theultimatemixtape.com. It's under the contact section. And while you're there, tell us what songs you would add to your ultimate mixtape, because at the end of all of this, I would love to put a mixtape together and then we share it out with you guys. I just think it would be fun to just put that together. So thank you guys again for listening.
Yeah, definitely check back for updates, future guests. I know we have Hunter DeBlanc on deck, and I can't wait for you guys to hear that episode because it's really funny. We laughed the whole time. So
We did.
we'll have that coming up here soon. But please send us messages, DMs, let us know your favorite songs, and there's so much more to come.
Cool.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
listening.
guys. Cheers.